All right, thank you guys. Welcome to the show here today. This is our NBA video here today for Sunday, March 14th. And if you're new here, I just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my channel. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you want to find out how many of these picks I make here today are also being featured on my premium content, you may want to check me out at patreon.com/BrockPage. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But with that said, we got ourselves a pretty good slate of NBA action here today, so let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm talking about the Grizzlies taking on the Thunder, 2 o'clock Eastern tip-off in OKC. The Memphis Grizzlies are -7 on the road, totals 220.5. And if you like the Thunder in an upset on their home court here, they're plus 225 on the money line. Now, we dropped to 6-1 in our last 7 extra daily picks on my Patreon website yesterday. It's also going to drop us down to 17-2 in our last 19 extra daily picks in that very same tier membership. Now, access to our extra daily pick is just $2.99 on that Patreon page. And if you want to join the 1,300 plus members who are currently signed up and active on that site, link for that Patreon page is in the description section below. Once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, if you're leaning Memphis here, laying this many points on the road, you might just be crazy. But having said that, though, this is a Memphis squad who's built on their road performances, so you may be headed in the right direction. The Grizzlies are currently 9-5 straight up in their games away from home, and they successfully covered the point spread in over 64% of those road contests. Now, Memphis is in the top 10 in road offensive rebounding, and they're averaging nearly 116 points a night when they travel. Now, John Morant scoring over 19.5 points per contest, along with 3 rebounds and 7 assists. Meanwhile, the big man, Jonas Valanciunas, he's also scoring 16 a night himself, along with 11 boards. Now, in addition to some serious offensive prowess on the road here, the Grizzlies are also in the top 3 in defending the 3 ball away from home as well. And they allow just 108 points a night when they travel. So, when Memphis goes on the road, good things happen. They probably look at the schedule like, hey, are we traveling this week? Let's pick up some W's here. But anyway, they're taking on an OKC squad who's won just 7 of 19 at the Chesapeake Energy Arena. The Thunder, they also might have to go to work here today without their leading scorer, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, along with Darius Bazley. Both are listed as questionable for this afternoon's matinee. Now, in addition to being 6 games below 500, OKC's in the bottom 3 in shooting the 3 ball, bottom 3 in defensive rebounding. They also average just 105 points per contest. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, OKC's last 2 straight both got over the number. They're also 4-2 to the over in their last 6. The Thunder also finds themselves 11-8 to the over at the Chesapeake Energy Arena. I'm going to lean toward the Memphis Grizzlies -7 in the over 220.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Jazz versus the Warriors, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The Utah Jazz are -6 away from home. Numbers 232 juice to the over, but as absolutely dominant as Utah's been this season, they've actually lost 3 out of their last 5 ball games, and they failed to cover the point spread 4 times during that span. Now, for some reason, the Jazz struggle at the foul line when they travel. They're in the bottom 10 in road offensive free throw percentage. They're also in the bottom 5 in the league defensively, and fourth quarter points allowed away from home. Now, they're taking on a Golden State squad who, really, have struggled recently. They do really tend to get the job done at home. They're 12-6 straight up at the Chase Center this season, 61% against the number in those home games. Golden State is currently leading the NBA in defensive field goal percentage at home. They're also in the top 10 in home scoring. Steph Curry scoring 29.3 points per contest, basically 30 points a game, along with 5 rebounds and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins is also scoring nearly 17 a night himself, along with 4 boards and a couple assists as well. The Warriors are scoring 117 points a game on their home court. And they're also in the top 10 in shooting the three ball at home as well. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring in this one, 3 out of Golden State's last 4 ball games did stay under the number. 6 and 2 to the under in their last 8. As a matter of fact, the Warriors are officially 22 and 16 to the under through 38 ball games on the season. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Golden State Warriors plus 6.5 and the under 232. Next ball game, it is going to be Spurs, Sixers, 6:30 p.m. Eastern start time. The Philadelphia 76ers are the 4-point favorite with the total at 223. And despite the absence of Joel Embiid, we're still looking at a Philly squad who's on a 4-game winning streak, 8-2 straight up in their last 10. Now the Sixers are currently 16-3 straight up at the Wells Fargo Center, and they currently find themselves 14 games above 500. Now the Sixers are in the top 3 in the NBA in home scoring. They're also in the top 3 in home offensive field goal percentage. Tobias Harris is scoring over 20 points a game for Philadelphia, 7.5 boards and 3 assists for the starting forward. Meanwhile, Ben Simmons is getting over 16 a game himself, along with 7 rebounds and 7 assists as well. Philadelphia is in the top 10 defensively in points allowed. They're also in the top 10 in defensive rebounding. Now they're taking on a San Antonio squad who's going to have to go to work without their leading scorer, DeMar DeRozan. Now the Spurs already rank in the bottom 10 in the NBA in scoring on average per contest. So certainly the loss of DeRozan here today, not good for Spurs backers here. Now the Spurs have also lost 2 out of their last 3. And they failed to cover the number in 4 out of their last 7. San Antonio also ranks in the bottom 3 in defensive rebounding on the road. Now, total-wise, Philadelphia went 4-1 to the over in their last 5 ball games, 12-7 to the over at the Wells Fargo Center. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia 76ers -4 and the over 223. Next ball game, it is going to be Heat versus the Magic, 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off in Orlando. Miami Heat's -7.5, totals 208. Now the Heat's on a 3-game winning streak, 9-1 straight up in their last 10. Miami's in the top 3 in the league in defensive field goal percentage, top 10 in defending the 3 ball. Miami gives up just 107 points per contest. Jimmy Butler scoring over 21 points a game, 7 rebounds, 8 assists for the starting forward. Meanwhile, Goran Dragic is scoring 15 points a night himself, along with 3 rebounds and 4 assists as well. Now they're taking on an Orlando squad who's on a 7-game losing streak, playing some real bad basketball right now, as they also rank dead last in the NBA in offensive field goal percentage. Now, in addition to winning just 8 of 20 on their home court, the Magic's going to have to go to work without Fournier, Gordon, Ennis, and Anthony. Meanwhile, Terrence Ross is also listed as questionable for the Magic. Now, Orlando already scores just 104 points per contest, so who the hell knows who's going to do the scoring for him here today? They also find themselves 8 games below 500 for the entire season. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, 4 out of Orlando's last 5 did get over the posted number. Meanwhile, Miami saw contests with Utah, Toronto, and this very Orlando squad get over the posted total recently themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Miami Heat -7.5 and the over 208. Next ball game, it is going to be Cavaliers, Hawks, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. The Atlanta Hawks are the 6-point favorite at home, totals 222.5. Now the Hawks have been playing some really good basketball recently, 4-0 straight up in their last 4 ball games. The Hawks are in the top 5 in offensive rebounding at home, top 10 in home defensive rebounding as well. Clint Capella is averaging nearly 14.5 rebounds per contest, 14 points a game as well for the starting center. Meanwhile, Trae Young is scoring over 26.5 points per contest himself, 4 rebounds, 9 assists for the young standout point guard. The Hawks are limiting their opponents to just 32% shooting from beyond the arc at the State Farm Arena. Now they're taking on a Cleveland squad who's won just 5 of 18 on the road this season. And they covered the point spread in just 27% of those contests. Now the Cavs are currently on a 2-game losing streak. No real surprise there. And unfortunately, they're going to have to go to work without Dellavedova, Prince, and possibly Darius Garland. So certainly bad news for Cleveland fans. Cleveland currently ranks dead last in scoring, dead last in shooting the 3 ball on the road. And when it comes to the number in this one. 7 out of Cleveland's last 9 stayed under the posted total. 23 and 14 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Hawks saw 3 out of their last 5 stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Hawks -6 and the under 222.5. Next ball game. It is going to be Celtics versus the Rockets, 8 p.m. Eastern start time in Houston. Now, the Boston Celtics are laying 11 points on the road here. That's a ridiculous number. Total's 221.5. But despite this extremely high number, laying double digits on the road, the Celtics have won 4 out of their last 5 ball games. They're in the top 5 in the league in defensive rebounding, and they're relatively healthy. They're led by Jason Tatum, who's scoring 25 points a game, along with 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown scoring 24 points per contest himself, along with 5 boards and 4 assists as well. The Celtics are in the top 3 defensively in second quarter points allowed. They're taking on a decrepit Houston team who lost their last 15 straight, and they covered the number just 2 times during that very long stretch. Now, the Houston Rockets are currently a pitiful 3-12 against the number at the Toyota Center this season, and they're still going to work without the efforts of Christian Wood, along with Wall, House, and Gordon. I mean, it's really tough sledding, missing all those guys. I mean, they've struggled to win with those guys in the lineup, let alone without them. So, anyway, the Rockets are last in the NBA in home scoring, last in home offensive field goal percentage. The Rockets are scoring just 104 points per contest on their home court. Now, total-wise, Houston saw their last 2 straight stay under the number, 6-2 to the under in their last 8. The Rockets are also a staggering 13-2 to the under as the official home team. Got to do it. Got to lay the points. Give me the Boston Celtics -11 and the under 221.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Blazers T-Wolves, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Minnesota. The Portland Trailblazers are -5 with the total at 233.5. Now, Portland's won 4 out of their last 5 ball games, 12-7 against the number when they travel. The Blazers are in the top 10 in the NBA in road scoring, top 10 in three-point percentage away from home as well. Damian Lillard scoring over 29.5 points per contest, 4 boards, 8 assists for the multi-time All-Star. Meanwhile, Carmelo Anthony scoring over 14 a night off the bench himself. The Blazers are scoring over 115 points a night when they travel, and they're making nearly 40% of their three-pointers away from home as well. They're taking on a pathetic Minnesota team who is 22 games below 500, and they lost 14 out of their last 16 contests. Now, the T-Wolves have won just 22% of their home games, and they find themselves in the bottom 3 defensively in points allowed. Minnesota gives up 117 points per contest on average. Now, D'Angelo Russell's still out. Jarrett Culver's questionable. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, Minnesota saw their last 3 straight ball games get over the posted total. 6-1 at the over in their last 7. Meanwhile, Portland saw their last 3 straight get over the total themselves. 4-1 at the over in their last 5. I'm going to lean toward the Portland Trailblazers -5 and the over 233.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Clippers versus the Pelicans, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The LA Clippers are -6 with the total at 232.5. Now, the Clippers are coming fresh off a 26-point beatdown of Golden State in their most recent outing. The Clippers are currently 11 games above 500, and they currently find themselves with a 600 win percentage away from home. Los Angeles currently leads the NBA in three-point percentage, and they also lead the league in free throw shooting. Kawhi Leonard is scoring over 26.5 points per contest, along with 5 boards and 1.5 steals. Meanwhile, Paul George is dropping nearly 24 a game himself, along with 6 rebounds and 5 assists as well. The Clippers are also in the top 3 in road defensive rebounding. They allow just 108 points per contest when they travel. Now, they're squaring off against a New Orleans squad who just lost 5 out of their last 7 ball games, and they also successfully covered the point spread in just 9 of 21 home games. Now, the Pelicans are in the bottom 5 in shooting the 3 ball at home. They also rank in the bottom 5 in the NBA in points allowed defensively. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, 2 out of New Orleans' last 3 ball games did stay under the number. Meanwhile, the Clippers saw 4 out of their last 6 stay under the line themselves. And real quick here, they're also 70% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers -6 and the under 232.5. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Raptors Bulls, 9 p.m. East. The Chicago Bulls are the 3-point favorite at home. Numbers 229.5. And if you like Toronto in an upset victory on the road here, they're plus $1.30 for some money line cash. And despite having some real heavy hitters out of the lineup here recently, we're still looking at a Toronto squad who covered the number in 2 out of their last 3 ball games. And Toronto also went 60% against the number in their last 10. Now, they currently rank in the top 10 in the NBA in road scoring. And despite the absence of Siakam, Van Fleet, and OG Anunoby, Kyle Lowry still dropping 18 points a night for the Raptors, 5.5 rebounds, 7 assists for the heavily seasoned veteran. Meanwhile, Norm Powell scoring nearly 19 a night for the Raptors himself, along with 3 rebounds a game as well. Now, Toronto's making 40% of their three-pointers when they travel. They're taking on a Chicago team who's on a 2-game losing streak themselves, while also losing 4 out of their last 5. Now, in addition to losing their last 10 straight head-to-head meetings with Toronto, the Bulls currently find themselves in the bottom 5 defensively in points allowed at home. Now, we're looking at a Chicago team who's won just 7 of 20 at the United Center this year, and they gave up 115 points per contest in the process. Now, total-wise, it just doesn't really look like the number adjusted all too much here. Pretty high number with regard to the over and under. Now, like I said, it didn't really adjust all too much here with Toronto's 3 leading scorers out of the lineup. It does feel like a relatively high number for a team missing significant firepower in the Raps, and also a Chicago team who covers only 35% of their home games. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go with the underdog Toronto Raptors +3 and the under 229.5. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, powered to you by my Patreon website, where we are 6-1 in our last 7 extra daily pick tier package plays on that Patreon page. We're also 17-2 in our last 19 extra daily picks in that very same tier membership. I like Memphis -7 over 220.5. Golden State +6.5 under 232. Philadelphia -4 over 223. Miami -7.5 over 208. Atlanta -6 under 222.5. Boston -11 under 221 and a hook. Portland -5 over 233.5. Clippers -6 under 232 and a hook. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the show here, please feel free to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up by smashing that like button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Give me the Toronto Raptors +3 and the under 229.5. And with that, guys, one final reminder, all the content on my YouTube channel here is for entertainment purposes only. I don't make any guarantees of any kind. With that, guys, we're going to dive into some shout-outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to Lance Brown, Double A, Thomas Reason, Zek Abdel Aziz. Shout out to Cody the God, Jahad Harris, Josie Green, Kevin Etandu, David Gott, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my good friend, Brandon Lee. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. Just another quick reminder, if you guys decide to get a package here today on Patreon, just keep in mind we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.